Hi, I'm Kelly from kellyelena.com, where I love to help graceful girl bosses build their businesses and balance their lives. So, if you are watching right now, I am guessing that you are probably enrolled in my free email course called Get It Done in Less Time with More Grace. And if that's the case, I am so thrilled that you have made it to lesson 8. Way to go. If you are not in that course, I would welcome you to join. I would love to have you. And you can hop right over to my website, kellyelena.com, where you can sign up and get started. So this video goes along with lesson 8, where we are really diving deep into the best of the best to-do list tips. So in this video, I'm going to show you my to-do list process, and it goes right along with the steps that I have included in lesson 8. So here we are inside my phone because I do all of my to-do list planning on my phone. And I use one app called Awesome Note, and here we are on my home page of my phone, and you can see it in the upper right hand corner, the yellow one that says A Note for Awesome Note. So we're going to head right inside there. Now, this app to me really is awesome because there's so much you can do with it. And I honestly don't use all of the features, but the ones that I do, I absolutely love. I love the organization of it and just how I can use it exactly how I want to. So just to kind of give you a view of what this looks like, I have 3 different pages of folders, and I do use it for some different things other than my to-do list. So I keep all of my to-do items on the very first page. So I am going into this app several times a day to check on how I'm doing and what I have to do next. And then the other files over here are things that I check more randomly when I have other things that I'm working on and thinking about. But this very first page, I'm in several times during the day. So that's why on my desktop of my phone, I have it as its own special app. Whereas the other apps that I have in categories. This one gets its own space because that's how much I use it. Okay, so let's talk about the process. First of all, let me explain the folders that are here. So I got this idea from Chalene Johnson, and she also has a video tutorial on how she uses Awesome Note if you want to go check hers out. But she recommends having something called a push goal, which is the #1 goal of overarching everything else that you have intended as goals for your year, and that you keep that top of mind all the time. And so I do that same thing, but instead of calling it my push goal, I just call it my #1 goal. So that's what that folder is, and that's just my daily reminder of what it is that I'm doing and what is it all about and why am I doing it. And so that's there to remind me. And I have a note inside with more details that I pop into and remind myself as often as I can. Now the other 3 are really the to-dos. And these to-dos are moving me closer to that #1 goal all the time. And now I have other goals under that #1 goal umbrella. But when I'm moving forward with my daily to-dos, I'm getting closer to all of those goals. So having that #1 at the top just reminds me this is what it's all about. So then I have these 3 folders: today, soon, and later. And you could identify them as today, this week, this quarter, or however you like. But for me, I like to keep it kind of loose. And so when I finish today's to-dos, then I can go into what I have already listed under soon and pop some of those in for the next day. And then when I'm through all of the soons, I can keep checking at the laters and sort of move those into the soon category and then into the today category. So everything kind of keeps moving up all the time. So let's talk about what I do at the end of the day when I'm ready to plan for the next day. Now, as I said, I have these steps listed inside the lesson. So I'm going to kind of go through these steps with you quickly. So number one, I first start by thinking about my ideal week and thinking about what is my theme for the next day. So if you don't know what I'm talking about with the ideal week, that's also inside the email course if you haven't signed up for it, and it's a lesson that comes earlier than lesson number 8. So you would have already designed your ideal week, and you would think about what priorities you have for tomorrow and what is your theme, what is your most important thing that you're working on during that day. So I think, okay, tomorrow is, let's say, Thursday, and my theme is projects. What are the big projects that I'm working on? Creating a new program or an ebook or a course or a product. Those are the kinds of things that I think of with projects. So what's on the top of my list project-wise? So I get those ideas down, and I might write on a sticky note or something, or I might just have it in my head. Then the second step is thinking about what urgent things do I have? What are the things that absolutely have to be done, and that if they're not done, there will be some really harsh consequences. So these are like your 911 emergency kind of items because they have to be done. But I try to schedule those for the end of my work time because I don't want my energy and all my attention to be depleted right from the get-go by focusing so much on these urgent items, which we talk about in the course as well. So for myself, I set aside about half an hour to an hour of the end of my work time just for the urgent items. Usually doesn't take an hour, but I keep that in mind. So I look at what really absolutely has to be done tomorrow and how much time do I think that's going to take. So then we move into step number 3, thinking about the important tasks that I want to work on. What are the things that fit my theme for the day, and how do I want to incorporate those into my day? Then the fourth step is thinking about adding margin, giving estimates to every task that I'm thinking of, and not just limiting it to how long I think it's going to take, but adding margin in, meaning adding extra buffer time in, because I know there are always things that come up that I don't expect. Interruptions, distractions, children, difficulties with technology. There's always something. So I think about how long I think it's going to take, and then I add extra buffer time in. Then I start thinking about step 5, which is actually creating a schedule with times. So I'm going to hop into today's folder now so you can kind of take a look. So I actually make sort of an agenda with times of the day, and I try to put the urgent things at the end, and so for today, it's going to be email. And the more important things that match my theme for the day in the beginning, because I want to be fresh, I want to have energy for those, and I want to give them as much attention as possible. So those come right up front in the beginning of my day. And I've thrown in a bunch of margin time, and you can see my day looks pretty packed. We're jumping from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Well, I just want to keep in mind for you that there's a lot of margin time built in here, okay? So in the beginning of the day where you see 6 to 7:30 and then it jumps to 9 o'clock, 7:30 to 9 o'clock is really for all the things that I'm doing with my children. Getting them breakfast, getting them ready for school, heading off to school, all of those kinds of things. And then I'm back close to about 9 o'clock. And from 9 to 12:30, and actually for the rest of the day, I'm with my 1-year-old, soon to be 1-year-old. He's turning 1 in just a couple days. And so he's here with me during all of this work time, but the thing is I'm not working the entire time because I want to have time for him. I want to have time to play with him or read a book or have a snack and have some lunch and do nap time and all of these things, but I don't need to schedule that in. That's just margin time. That's like I know that I'm going to be doing all these different things with him during the day, and I'm just going to be working when I can work, when he's napping or when he's just sort of happily playing on his own and that kind of thing. So for my schedule, there's a ton of margin built in. So you don't really see all the extra things that I'm doing in here. All that I have listed are the actual work tasks that are going to be happening, hopefully within those time frames that I've created very large. So hopefully that makes sense. And so step 6 then is making sure there's enough time at the end of the day for the urgent items. So I have some urgent email that's going to go out today, and I think it'll take, probably only 15 minutes, but I left half an hour just so that I have that extra margin time. So now I'm covered. I've got my important things up at the top and my more urgent things at the end, and hopefully there's enough margin time built in that everything will be done by the end of the day. Now, the other thing I do want to say is that this list is a little bit longer than my normal day because I am planning for 3 days of no work at all. I have other things going on, so 3 days where I'm not going to be working at all. So I have a little bit more packed into this day and hoping that I can get it all done. However, I've got to remember the grace part that if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done, and that's okay. But what I like is when I don't have to scroll down at all, when I have just a small list to tackle. Okay, so those are basically the 6 big steps, and then step number 7 is just check, 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 get it all done, woohoo, celebrate, and then you're ready to plan your next day. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Awesome Note if you're interested in this app and how it works. Now, there's a lot inside this app that you can do. I've been using it for months, and I'm still tweaking and improving my process and the ways that I use it and the things that I do with it. So I could spend a whole hour probably giving you a tutorial of the entire app, but you're here specifically for how to manage your to-do list, so that's what I'm going to focus on now. So the way that I do it is I use the stars that you see on the right-hand side to prioritize my items. You can use the star system, or you can use a system where you put in due dates and it will prioritize the lists for you. I've tried both and I just like the stars better. So if we go into the first item, which is lesson number 9, and this is actually lesson number 9 for this course, and working on it from 6 to 7:30, if I tap on that, we come in and we see the title that I put in at the top, and then the stars, and the way you make the stars is just by tapping right on top of them. So I know this is going to be something important that I want to do at the beginning of the day, so I'm going to tap 5 stars because I want it to rise to the top of my list. And now inside the course we talk about how to break your items down by starting each item with a verb. So what I do is on my main list, you'll see sort of broad kind of to-do items, but when you tap to come inside, this is where I get more specific with my verbs and break it down into subtasks. So a part of lesson 9 for me would be writing the lesson, formatting it in my email system, proofreading it and editing it, and making a Facebook post for our group to go along with it. So then as I complete these, this is fun, I actually get to check these items off, which is super fun. Now I forget what that might have said make. Okay. So I'm going to uncheck them for now. And to show you again how to make those is when you tap down into this bottom space, and then you get another little menu, and you see the little check marks. When you tap on that, it will make a little box that you can check inside. How cool is that? Something else you can do, which is really great that I've been using a lot more recently, is this little paper clip. When you tap the paper clip, now all of a sudden you can do some other things. You could take a picture and put that picture right inside this note. Or you could pull a picture off of your camera roll and add that picture to your note. Okay, this is something I do a lot. If I'm taking notes on paper and I don't want to have a lot of extra papers laying around, what I do is I take a screenshot, or not a screenshot, I just take a picture of my note, throw the note away, and then put it right inside Awesome Note, which is cool. The microphone, you can actually record your voice and leave yourself a voice message if that works well for you. The little paintbrush is you can actually draw whatever you want, or you could, write a quick note with your finger. The sun and the location button. I'm not exactly sure what they do. I don't really use those. The diary and the anniversary I also don't use. So the camera, the voice messaging, and the drawing I find to be the most helpful. And then the to-do, I can tell you, I actually don't even know what that particular feature does. So you can put a due date on it if you like this feature. I tried it for a while and it wasn't quite for me, so I don't use it anymore. But what you do is tap where it says no due date, and then you can put a time on it. So if you want to do it this way, you could say, okay, this task I want to do today at 11 a.m. And then you would keep it that way. I don't know why I can't click. So I guess we push that button over and then we click done, and now you have a due date on it. So you can prioritize your list so that it will actually list all of your items in the order of their due dates if you prefer that over using the star system. I just found that the star system was easier for me, and I like to see the time in my title. So rather than doing the due date, I'm going to take that away. Done. So rather than doing the due date, what I do is I just type the time in right next to my item. Now, obviously, you wouldn't need to do that, and you can set it up however you like, but this is kind of what I have been doing lately that's been working really well for me. Now, when you complete something, so let's say inside lesson number 9, I've done all 4 of these things, and then click the back arrow to go back out to your today list. So now I can do the big check mark to say, hey, I have done it all, and then it will actually bump all the way down to the bottom. So I love this feature as well because it doesn't disappear. I like to actually see all of my things crossed off. Maybe I'm a little crazy in that way, but I do. And then before I make my next day's list, then I delete the things that have been crossed off. I don't usually like to delete them right away. I don't know why, but I like it that way. I like to see them crossed off. Okay, so how you delete then is you can come up to the top where there are the bullets and click on that, and then you can hit delete completed to-dos. Or if you want to do them one at a time, you just come down to lesson number 9 that's crossed off and push your finger to the left, and you can delete one at a time there. Okay? So that's kind of fun. And then if I uncheck it, it's going to rise back to the top. Ta-da! Okay. Now, one last thing that I want to show you that's also really helpful is if we hit the back arrow and we come back out to the folders. Let's say I get through everything that I had planned for today and I have extra time and I want to do some more, right? So the exciting thing is I can go into the Soon folder and I can pick something from here, and what I'll do is click the bullets up at the top, and now we have these red circles on the side. So let's say I want to add some Facebook ads research into my day, so I'm going to click the circle, and then I'm going to move it. I could delete it, but I'm going to move it, and now I get to select where do I want to move it. Well, I want to bump it up to today, so I click today and done, and then you'll see it's no longer in the soon folder. We go back over to today, and oh, there it is. Facebook ads research. And then of course I would, put a time to it. And if I wanted a star, I would do that. Okay. So I actually don't want it there right now. So I'm going to click bullets again, click the little circle next to it, and I'm going to move it back to soon. Okay, so that is it. That's the process that I use. Again, you can kind of tailor this however you like it as far as the star system or the due date system or another system that you create. I just think it helps oftentimes to see someone else's process rather than just hearing about it or seeing it in writing. So that was a little glimpse inside my process, and I can't wait to hear all about your process and what is working well for you. So please feel free to let me know how things are going for you and what great aha moments you've had and what process you're using and what's working well for you. I would love to know. And also, if you've been finding value in the course, I would love it if you share it with your friends. So I can't wait to connect with you again soon. I can't wait to see you tackling those to-dos so they get to done, right? And just remember, it's about progress over perfection. I have really been working on my to-do system for months now, and it didn't happen overnight. It has definitely been a baby step process, and it keeps getting better. So the more you work at it, the more you'll figure out what works for you, and your productivity will go up, and you will feel so much better about what you're getting done each day. So kudos to you for being a go-getter and for keeping your priorities straight. And I can't wait to see you and connect with you again soon.